Hi, Mrs. Fauché. Thank you for coming in today to discuss Cooper's academic assessment.
Thank you for having me.
As you know, we have been working very hard to get Cooper's reading level up to speed and back on track with the rest of his peers. Today, I just want to go over the most recent assessments that I've evaluated for Cooper's reading. So in the 6th grade, we are assessing 3 areas in reading. We're going to assess the phonics, which is the student's ability to decode words, so make meaning of simple words that are out and about that he sees and maybe doesn't understand quite yet, but can decode the little tiny, pieces of the word so that he understands. Vocabulary is the second aspect, which is the student's knowledge of words they can recognize as well as their understanding and meaning associated with the word. So that means when he's out and about, he's not just seeing words and saying, oh, that has a meaning. He understands what it means within the context. So if he's walking around and he sees something on a billboard, he probably understands that it's an advertisement kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And finally, fluency and comprehension is the third thing that we're going to assess today. And really, they both go hand in hand. So when a student is fluent in something, they can read a passage out loud with proper technique, such as pausing at commas or providing some sort of expression as needed. So this fluency really helps the student's ability to comprehend the text in which they are reading. It gives the text more personality that can be more relatable and understandable to the student. So let's dive in. We're going to start with phonics. Again, this is the student's ability to break down words and evaluate each piece of the word in order to make meaning of the word they may not know. So Cooper does a great job with words he knows. He has lots of synonyms and can associate words he can describe with the word I give him. So if I give him a word, he's able to tell me, other words that may have the same or similar meanings. For example, a phonics test that I administered asked Cooper to give me the definition of a word I said out loud. So I asked him to give me the meaning of the word frustrated, and he responded mad, angry, or upset. This was a great start. It tells me that Cooper is capable of relating meanings and understandings based on words he knows. However, there is one area of refinement that Cooper and I will be spending lots of time with, and that's affixes. So an affix is a prefix or a suffix. It's something that is connected to the root word or the base word, some word that we already understand, but then it's a little extra enhancement that could change the meaning of the word. So he struggles especially with past tense suffixes, more specifically the suffix ed. This can be a big problem when understanding a word or a passage because the suffix ed really can change the meaning of a word or give the word a different tense, so bringing the past and the present. So when we're reading a text, I don't want him to think the entire time that this character is doing something the entire time. I want him to understand that when you add ed to an action, it's going to mean that the character in our passage is doing something in the past tense. She already did it. He already did it. It's a previous action of some sort. So my strategy for helping Cooper develop a better understanding of affixes is to include these pre or suffixes in our daily word wall. So we have new words each week that are associated with our text for the week, and whenever applicable, I would like to encourage the students to enhance the words with a pre or a suffix. I truly believe that this strategy used just a few practices a week, maybe once or twice daily, we can get Cooper's understanding of what it really means to include these small but meaningful affixes. It would be a great help if you monitored his reading alouds at home, because I give him reading alouds every night for homework. I'm sure you already know that. And maybe encourage him a little bit more, correct him whenever he has difficulty including these affixes at home. So phrases like, I would especially reinforce the present and tense understanding, maybe by saying, so did the character previously do this action, or are they presently doing this action within the text that he's reading to you at home? This kind of will just bring that home for him. He'll understand better what's going on and what the character is doing or maybe did do in the past. So this would be a great help and support for Cooper and hopefully give him a better understanding of what these affix things are. So let's move on. We're going to move on to a second assessment for Cooper, which was vocabulary. So his vocabulary test was actually a little disappointing. He got very discouraged at words he was not familiar with, and it was tough to see him get so down on a few words. Just, when you're doing something and all of a sudden you do one thing wrong and it kind of escalates from there. So he seemed very distracted after his first missed word, and it did not seem to have an interest in finishing the rest of his test. I have a great strategy for Cooper that I will hopefully bring his interest of words way up. He'll be so much more motivated to understand and learn words. That way maybe he'll spell them better and vocabulary will be enhanced. So I want to develop more of an understanding of base words. So again, we're going to go back to prefix and suffixes. These are all kind of tied together by including more sounding out techniques or modeling and looking up posted word lists like in our word wall, or we can have him, use sticky notes whenever he doesn't know a word. He can tag them in his readings. Maybe using dictionaries a little bit more so he understands the meaning before he has to spell the word, or checking word banks. So within his folder for reading, I know we have a lot of stuff where he can go through and look for base words and all of that, so he understands the meaning of just small little words, but maybe we can broaden that with more affix and prefix, suffixes, etc. So this is when Cooper gets stuck on a word. He can not only sound out the words, but break them down into smaller chunks that he knows or is able to spell and be confident that he is trying his best. Because I feel like the whole him getting down on his vocabulary, it was really disappointing for him, and I feel like he just wasn't as interested in understanding what he was doing. So his interest in words will hopefully be heightened after this strategy because he will feel more capable and determined. Another fantastic strategy that I would suggest for home is whenever Cooper sees a word he's not familiar with and you're aware of his misunderstanding, ask him to Google it or look it up. This gives him a chance to use his cell phone, which we know all kids want to do, and hopefully this will broaden his vocabulary by interesting him in the words that are around him. That way he can look them up, see how they're used in context, see what he can do to make them better, or, use them in his own vocabulary, and he'll just be more, interested in what he's doing. So the final assessment was in fluency and comprehension. So I have to tell you, this was the most memorable assessment of Cooper for myself, because he's fantastic at answering questions about the text and can practically narrate everything that he read in the passage after we've talked about it. So I can say, all right, what happened in the story? And he'll tell me word for word, list for list, what the character did, what happened, what the action was, what, she struggled with or he struggled with, and then we'll go from there. And he can narrate it left and right. He can tell me, front to back what's going on. However, we read a quaint story about a little girl finding a kitten, because I know you guys have a lot of animals, and he loves animals, and Cooper did not seem to really get the moral aspect or the underlying meaning of the passage. At the end, the girl gives back the kitten because it's the right thing to do, because, she got a kitten and she had to give it back because it wasn't her kitten. However, Cooper believes that the little girl gave the kitten back because the proper owner, or the little boy that she saw in the pet store who, said, need to find a kitten, he was handicapped or he was disabled. And so Cooper felt like maybe the girl only gave it back because the little boy was having other struggles in life that, were more than he was. So I don't think that this is a huge problem so much, because with Cooper's fluency, he's actually very fluent and he can read things, and he has, moderate expression, which is always great for comprehension. But his comprehension of the content, or what we're really trying to get through to him, the moral of the story or the understanding of the concepts within the story, is lacking just a little bit. Okay. So the strategy that I want to do is called making connections. And we'll start by doing this before and after each passage by reading each passage. We read aloud by allowing the students to put themselves in a similar position as the characters we are reading about, and then reflecting on the outcome from the passage. So we're going to talk about, what the story might be about, how it's related to us, and how we could, cope with finding a kitten, what we would do if we found a kitten. And then at the end, we can talk about, so this is what the little girl in the story did. What would you do if you had found a kitten? Would you give it back to its previous owner, without any question? That way he kind of understands or has more of a connection or relatability to the text. But we're going to start doing that with every text that we do. So not just these hard ones that have like a life lesson in them, but in all of them. That way he can relate and have more of an interest in what he's reading. So also, I would really appreciate support at home by asking Cooper to relate to situations he is seeing, reading, hearing, etc. at home. So whether that's watching a television program or listening to you and your husband's grown-up conversations about life, and maybe asking him to reflect on how he feels, or, how he thinks that that's relatable to him at 12 years old, these grown-up situations, is that relatable to what he's going through, and just see how that works out for him. That way he has a little bit more of connections with life. So I know that I've thrown so much information at you. Do you have any further questions for me?
Well, all this information has just been very explicit. So, do you feel like these strategies will ultimately get Cooper to grade level reading so he can excel with his peers?
I truly believe that with your support and these new strategies being implemented, that Cooper will see a major improvement and be back on the grade level, hopefully within the next school year. But yeah, other than that, I think that he's a great student, and we're going to work through these issues, and he should be good to go by next year.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for your time. I've covered everything necessary in Cooper's reading folder. So if you don't have any more questions and we're finished, then I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.